Well, Nintendo recently dropped their latest trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, which was packed full of details for the upcoming sequel to Breath of the Wild. And one of the big themes coming out of the new trailer was the ability to craft. Well, today, I'm going to have a look at the evidence for weapon crafting and then explore how that might work in the upcoming Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Well, if you're new around here or find this useful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Zelda content and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. Well, before we get into it today, let me know in the comments if you want to see weapon crafting in the game, and if you do, how do you think it's going to work? Well, after the most recent trailer, fans homed in on a few details, including Link's green magical powers coming from his right arm, plus the potential to build and craft various vehicles. So we've seen Link pull wheels out of the water, and then in the next shot he appears to be riding what looks like to be an off-road vehicle. Now, the vehicle appears to be cobbled together with wood and other things that he's found in Hyrule, with that glowing green energy binding it all together and potentially providing power to it. So we've seen a few variations, including a four-wheel vehicle riding around Hyrule, we've seen a hot air balloon flying through the skies, and then a flying machine that appears to be soaring high above the ground in Hyrule amongst those sky islands. Well, the trailer also showed off some details related to enemies, but they looked different than before. So after we saw the Blood Moon rise, we heard a booming voice say, "Rise, my servants, eliminate this kingdom and our allies, and leave no survivors." And seemingly, malice flew from the Blood Moon and infected enemies, changing them into terrifying new forms. Now, all of the bokoblins that we see appear to have spears coming out of their heads, or blade-like items. The Lizalfos appear to have katana blades coming from their heads, plus other bokoblins appear to have spear tips coming from the middle of their heads as well. Well, the Hinox appears to what looks to be a shield coming out of its head. So in summary, it looks like weapons and items have been merged with monsters around Hyrule, and it's possible we have to harvest these items and then combine them to make weapons and other items like shields. So the Hinox is particularly interesting because it's wearing something around its neck, which could be the green binding goo that we see on the vehicles. So as well as harvesting weapon parts, vehicle parts and basic items, we may have to find this crafting resource or binding material to put it all together. Well, there's been some backlash in recent days and weeks with some fans saying Tears of the Kingdom looks like DLC for Breath of the Wild. Well, naturally, there's going to be some crossover because the same engine is being used for the game, and the games, well, they just are going to look similar. We've also seen Link run and jump off ledges, opening up his glider, and you could argue that things do look the same on the surface. However, if we're going to get an in-depth crafting system, then this is going to be a huge, unique selling point when compared to Breath of the Wild, and just the thing that we've been looking for to differentiate the titles. Well, Breath of the Wild introduced breakable weapons, and this crafting system could be the evolution of that system. So in previous Zelda games, Link acquired a weapon, then used that same weapon for the majority of the game. Breath of the Wild broke from that tradition by hiding weapons all over Hyrule. They were in shrines, they were hidden around the map, including enemies using a variety of weapons. Link could knock these weapons from the hands of his enemies and pick them up and use them. That was a clever move from Nintendo because it promoted the freedom of exploration throughout the game. Shrines were a really good place to get weapons, although world bosses like Sleeping Hinox were also a great way to get a variety of weapons, given they would have weapons dangling around their neck, and when you beat them, you could pick up their weapons. Now, a crafting system could take this one step further and allow Link to piece together new and innovative weapons from weapon parts found all over the map that are attached to enemies. Shrines were one of the main reasons to explore in Breath of the Wild, so completing shrines gave us upgrade points which we could then put into Link's health or stamina, allowing us to explore further and fight for longer. So far, in the trailers, we haven't seen shrines, and it's not even clear if shrines are going to make it into Tears of the Kingdom. Without shrines, it's unclear what the catalyst will be for exploration. However, with the latest trailer, clues have started to emerge. And one of the new reasons to explore every inch of the map could be finding materials and pieces of vehicles or weapons, and then putting them together like a jigsaw puzzle. So we've seen different enemies seemingly modified by malice, with various horns growing from their heads, which do seem to resemble weapons from Breath of the Wild. And it's definitely possible we have to harvest these weapon parts, then go to a blacksmith or some kind of crafting station and piece together weapons. Okay, next up, let's have a closer look at the potential for weapon crafting in Tears of the Kingdom. Well, the enemies in Tears of the Kingdom do look different, and their horns and other attachments on their head appear to be an obvious difference. We've seen other clues in trailers which could point to weapon crafting. So in the latest trailer, we see Link fling an explosive from a makeshift weapon. Link appears to be holding a stick with a tube attached to the end. So he runs forward, he jumps and he attacks at the same time, throwing what looks like to be a cannonball or a bomb of some kind at a collection of rocks, and then it explodes on impact. So if you look closer at the footage, on the bottom of this weapon, we can see a green circle logo, which looks very similar to the main logo for Tears of the Kingdom. It's glowing green, and it appears to have an icon in the middle, and we can see similar logos on the wheels of vehicles, indicating this logo or symbol could represent an item that has been crafted. Now, all the vehicles appear to be held together, powered by this strange glowing green material, and green is also a colour associated with Link's new arm powers. We've seen Link reach out his arm, use some kind of magnesis power or a replacement, projecting some kind of green energy, which is able to manipulate objects in front of him, picking things out of the water, and that does seem to replace the magnesis rune from Breath of the Wild. Well, this green energy is obviously very important in Tears of the Kingdom. It's very likely that Link is healed with this green energy after his encounter with Ganondorf's corpse early on in the game. So in Breath of the Wild, we had the Sheikah Slate, and it looks like in Tears of the Kingdom, Link is going to be able to use powers directly from his arm without the need for a Sheikah Slate. So previously, we had various runes including magnesis, bombs, stasis, and the camera, of course, and this new green arm energy power could replace or streamline Link's powers. The prospect of crafting in Tears of the Kingdom is very, very exciting, and the potential could elevate our Breath of the Wild gameplay to a new level of customization and control for the player. So in Breath of the Wild, we could find a finite number of predetermined weapons, but here in Tears of the Kingdom, we could construct our own. So we've seen Link using a flamethrower attachment on his left arm, back in that E3 2021 trailer. We saw this for a few brief seconds as Link was fighting an enemy attached to the wall. So there's definitely a connection between that flamethrower and the bomb-throwing device that we see in the latest trailer, and that is the dragon head design. Both weapons appear to have dragon design styles, plus they appear to be connected through the glowing green energy and this circular logo. Well, Nintendo have been walking a tightrope of information very carefully indeed with this marketing. On one hand, they've shown a lot of small details, but without the context that connects them. From what we can see in the trailer so far, it does appear as if we're going to be able to craft weapons and vehicles, which could be a major difference to Breath of the Wild. And if all of this is true, then that makes me even more excited to get into the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Well, let me know what you think about the prospect of weapon crafting in Tears of the Kingdom, and let me know how you think it could work. Well, that is it for now for weapon crafting in Tears of the Kingdom, and as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. For more Legend of Zelda content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to Triforce Times, or you can check me out on Twitter at Triforce Times. Well, if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.